Hello, guys. Welcome to the Motley Croc Show, June 28th, 2022. We got some stuff coming up tonight. Got some people in the back. Obviously, I have my co-host, Jimmy Riffle, and we have Joe, the Croc Father, in the back up there. We'll be doing a little bit of talking to him and bring my microphone down here. You can hear me a little bit better. And we'll get started here shortly. So let's go ahead and bring in Jim. If we can see him, it's blacked out. And we'll definitely bring in Joe. What's up, Joe? Jimbo's a little blacked out there, but that's all right. That's all right.
I don't know. Can you hear me at least?
I hear you perfectly. You're in as the black ghost. You're ghosted.
Guys. Hang on, let me figure
I don't
this
hear
out.
Joe, though, at the moment. I can't hear Joe. I don't hear you, Joe, but I see you really clear, buddy. You want to jump out and jump back on? There you are.
What's going on?
Let me tell Joe. We can't hear Joe. Joe can't hear us, and we can't hear him. So he's going to jump out and come back in on us. What are you doing, man? How have you been?
I'm doing all right. Feeling a lot better. So I just, for everyone that know, I had that great COVID bullshit. So I'm recovered now. For the most part. I still have lingering shit, but I feel better. So.
That was pretty rough, I take it, huh? I know the feeling. I've been on that train.
Yeah, you were on that long ass train, bro.
It was pretty bad. It was pretty crazy. Can you hear us now, Joe?
Yeah, now I can hear you.
Yeah, all right. Joe's with us now.
There
that ride, that COVID train's pretty bad. Joe too, man. Joe had it pretty rough as well. I mean, he had a rough time with it as well.
Yeah, I was in the hospital for a while.
You were in the hospital with the COVID too?
Yeah.
Yeah, August makes a year. I was in there for 16 days.
God,
holy
damn
shit.
it, bro.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. They were trying to tell me that I was gonna have to go on a ventilator and all that shit, but thankfully didn't happen.
Well, yeah, thank God.
Jambo, my man, coming in from Dan Schwartzberg.
So what's going on with you guys?
What's up, Jeff? How you doing, buddy?
How's everybody doing? Everybody good?
Yeah, so far so good. I had a new roof put on my house. It was a nightmare.
Oh my God. Hey, look at the bright side. You want to do that for another fucking
No, it'll be a very
years?
interesting story for those of you listening. I'll tell you. I have, let me see here, Brittany. You're going to love this. I'm going to get into it because it was really bad. Okay, Brittany's coming up in just a second. So to top it all off, I, obviously, hey, Judy, what's up? I'm going to tell a story, and then I'll get back to saying hello to everybody.
Hey, Judy.
I always dread having stuff like construction work or any type of people that I don't know around my house to begin with. As with anybody who has anything when it comes to animals or fancy equipment, bands, stuff, it doesn't matter what it is. You're always worried about having somebody out there because there's always a horror story. So at the end of the day, I get the roof company here in the morning. So, they start first thing. Prior to it all, I moved the animals I have. You guys understand that I have 2 birds that are rather large, and I had to move them away from where they were, which was next to the house. And they're big. I mean, these birds are big now. So, they're just big. And so we got them down there. Everything was good. Of course, they didn't finish. So the whole day they're here. They're beating the shit out of the house. It's normal day-to-day work. Then they took like 2 hours off. They're drinking Modelo in the front yard. They're smashing up my fucking succulents. They go across the street to the neighbor's yard, sit in their yard, and start eating and drinking. Then they put this big DeWalt boombox up on top of the roof and started playing mariachi music. Hey, man, I'm all for that shit when I'm like out at the restaurant and stuff. So my neighbor's like, what's going on over there? It's like really loud. Well, they didn't get it done. Okay. So they're like, oh, we're going to waterproof the roof and we'll be back tomorrow morning. So they sealed it up. So by 8:30, it's all, the sky opened up on purpose. Like God urinated on my house for a good 2 hours on purpose right after that. Okay. So what happens? There's no flashing anymore. So the water runs down, hits the side of my house, out like back where my lemur exhibits are, gets into the windows, soaks my entire floor. I didn't know until the next morning. So my laminate wood is all coming up off the floor. So it's all waving up, like everything's just puffed up in the air. So that's to do it all. But even during that day, I go to pick up the food and stuff because Cody was staying here watching the the kangaroo and all the critters, and we had to rotate the lemurs out a little bit at a time. He calls me. He's like, Uncle Troy, one of the Mexicans fell off the roof between the lemur cage and ripped his head open. I'm like, what? So I come back from Publix and there's blood all over a fucking shirt and all over my patio out there. And so I guess he was leaning forward and he went head first off the roof, straight down between, caught his face on the side of one of my lemur exhibits, ripped his whole face back. Like,
bro, thank God he didn't fall in with Axel. Oh my God.
I know, right? So because they were all, there was nobody. The only person of Caucasian descent was the owner when he came out here for 5 minutes. So these guys were all, they're all very short. So they're good up there on the roof, and it's like a skateboarder. If you're short, your center of gravity's better. They were doing good, so I was shocked. However, they were supposed to be wearing these harnesses that connected to certain points. They had them on, but they weren't connected. So when the owner got out here, he's like, "Well, what the hell was going on out there with the you guys not wearing this?" Like, "Oh, so and so didn't have it on." And he's like, "None of you have it on, and it's a pretty it's a problem." So this guy's face, so he had a fisherman shirt on, because it's hot as shit. They got the big grass hats and stuff like I mow the grass in, and they've got like their face, but his whole shirt there was blood all over the place, right? So they're like, whatever, we'll go the next day. So they had to finish it on Saturday, right? So they started Friday. It was a 2-day job. So they come out Saturday, and I get up. Joe gets here in the morning. Cody gets up. He goes outside. I call him. I go, "Hey, man, what's going on with Romeo? Why is he screaming like a stupid asshole?" The bird's like, "Rah!" Just freaking out. And he's like, "Oh, the cassowaries kicked the gate open in the yard. They're running everywhere. I only see the one big one." I'm like, "Oh, my God. The birds are running around, whatever." So one ran into the tortoise den, the big one where my giant tortoise den is, but nobody saw him.
Okay.
And then the other one was in the other tortoise den eating with the tortoises. Well, by the time I got to the other one, her face was completely ripped to pieces. Like she was trying to cram it through the fence and go everywhere. I don't know what happened, but it's like miraculously healed. Like you can't even tell now. But besides that, when you go back, like I'm looking at her and she's dipping her head underwater and holding it up, dipping her head and they're breathing like, and the whole time these guys are just going to town out there. Like, they can see all of it going on. And the radio's blasted. So to me, it took about 6 years off my life for sure. Because you're trying to maintain all this stuff. You're worried about someone going to come in the yard and try to steal. And then I go out front and they're showering right underneath my lanai area in front of my house where nobody's supposed to be. With my nozzles all off, hosing themselves out, washing mud holes out, stepping all over my succulents and my cactus plants out there that I used to feed some of the tortoises and stuff. So, at the end of the day, it was not a fun weekend. It was not a fun weekend. So, thank God a couple people here. Joe was here to help and Cody, and we, were able to manage the animals. But it's always, that's always a pain in the ass thing. Always, especially when you have
they're done though, right? They're done?
All done. Looks great. It's done. Yeah. Glad it's over with. Rest in peace. But so I received an alligator snapping turtle. So there's very few people besides myself and Jimmy Riffle that have permits for more than one alligator snapping turtle. So there's few of us out there. The woman that originally had these turtles, she bought way back in the early 90s and she raised them. And her husband passed away and he used to be a vet for a company. And so with that being said, she goes, "I have one of my female left, my girl. I love her so much. I'm worried about her." So she had a roof done, right? When they were done 2 nights later, a couple of those employees that were doing that roof, we already know, took the big male snapping turtle out, skinned it and gutted it in the front yard. It was a big one too, man. She had the shell. Took all the meat out of it, the head, the legs, all the meat and everything, and left the carcass in there. So she pulled the female in the house and had it in the house. And then FWC said, "Oh, you can't have that anymore." It's like, she's like, "I just don't want it here. It's too much for me." So that's how I ended up with that one because somebody ate the male to her pair. So that's how I got.
Oh my God!
I know. So when you hear about those stories or construction workers leaving gates open and people's tortoises get away or lizards or snake, a lot of times not our fault. They're just careless. Pool boys go in the backyard and fucking, leave the door wide open and then something gets out. You know what I mean? One of the cool things though that happened is, hey Bumblebee, welcome to the team. One of the cool things that happened is that
Hi guys.
Hello.
Robert, the local FWC officer, the patrol officer that lives here in the big F-250. He lives in my neighborhood. He's like as a street over, like, you know, we have to drive by his house all the time. So I said, hey, have you gone to work? He's like, no. I go, can you just roll up here? So he comes up and he pulls right up into the driveway with that big F-250 and all those lights. And he's got, you know, he's going out, man. So he's got the bulletproof vest on and the guns and all the shit, you know. And there's the rifle rack. Every one of those motherfuckers froze. They froze. And so I'm like, yeah, well, you know, he lives right here, so he's always checking by the house. Anytime there's something weird going on, he rolls through, you know, blah, blah, blah. And so we hung out for a little bit, and, you know, he was telling me about some stuff he caught some people doing, and he met some of our friends. I mean, he ran into, he actually met Alan Register. They were collecting alligators, and he's like, man, here comes these guys with a whole bunch of tubs full of alligators. I'm thinking, woo, it's going to be the bust of the year. And it turns out to be this guy, and he shows me a car, and I go, oh, that's Alan Register. He goes, yeah, he's in charge of all of it. I go, yep. It's a small world. So Alan told him, he said, man, if you catch anybody else over here in this area, they're yours, because we pulled everything legal out of this particular county. So that was pretty awesome right there.
Wow.
How small that the officer lives by me meets Alan, because Alan's collecting on his permits, obviously. And, you know, he's in charge of all that stuff, and he's collecting it. And that's how you meet somebody. I just think it's really crazy.
Hey, David.
But, Michael Forster, what's up, buddy? I'm trying to say hello to everybody that was up there. I'm sorry, we were just talking about those.
So
I would asphalt the hell on those fuck cars. Yep, that's what they do, though. So you got to watch it, man. Any industry, equipment, studio equipment, cars, motorcycles, animals, anything. People always come back and try to steal, and that's why I have 24-hour surveillance around my house. You have to.
Yep, you do.
They must think I'm
really
kind of weird.
You really have to.
Because the only place you'd be able to steal something is if you're in the bathroom or guest bedroom and you shoved it in your pants, because I can't see in there. Well, I might have to change that. Just kidding. But yeah, I mean,
Joe's in there, so we need to change it.
Yeah, you got to watch that kind of shit. But yeah, that's what I mean.
Camera.
So, yep, that's right. But yeah, so that's really what we're going with. Other than that, we've had a pretty exciting week. I mean, it was a crazy weekend. I hear Croc Fest did a good amount of money. I was reading $51,500. I think it said.
Yeah, that's awesome.
51.5, something like that.
Yep.
David,
I read.
A couple high-rise condos. Yes, unfortunately, a lot of the companies will take a lot of those the migrant workers and Mexicans, and they may not be legal. So, you know, a lot of that happens, and it's not really fair to them either to pick them up and, you know, whatever. But, you know, that's what's going on these days, and that's what we have to face and we have to deal with. You know, obviously those people are just trying to have better lives, but, you know, it's a lot of our big companies' fault to do that kind of stuff to them too and work them like dogs, because there were 3 men and 4 women on my roof. Women.
Wow.
Not that women are not awesome and can't lay roofs, but it just didn't seem right to have, you know, 4-foot tall women up there carrying all that. It's just, that's not right, man. I mean, that's just terrible. That just shows you they want to do a little better than they've been doing in life. Yeah, well, it's not having a random guest for tourist broadcast. Pretty much a lot of zoo biologists were there. A couple of YouTubers as well, but all in all, it was good. Good, Dan. Glad to hear it. Yeah, it's just one of those things, man. It was just one of those weekends. But anyways, how about you? Anybody else have anything exciting before we get into Brittany's?
I had my first meeting was last night. So, yeah. And everything, zoning and planning, everything went great. I passed with consent with the zoning and planning. So my next and final meeting hopefully will be mid-July, and we'll have our special use permit here in Ocala to open up the facility. So
that's fantastic.
Yep.
That's fantastic.
Awesome.
Good for you, buddy. Good.
All my neighbors came out. Yeah, man. All the neighbors came out, showed their support, and you know, luckily because I was on consent, we didn't have to get up and talk, and it was literally just nobody opposed it, and then that was it. We left in about 20 minutes. So it was pretty cool.
That's awesome, Jimmy.
Yeah.
Now it's the hurdle of getting it all open and generating income.
Exactly.
One storm to the next,
that was
man.
The easier. That was the easier out of the 2 meetings. The next one is the one that really counts, is with the county commissioners. So that's the bigger meeting in mid-July. So thanks, Jeff.
You got the first hurdle, though.
Exactly. Yep.
I saw that, Dan. I saw the picture. That's the one that's been out there for years. Everybody except my sister has seen that one live.
Thanks, Judy. I appreciate that. And Samantha.
Samantha, what's up? We're gonna have some Bigfoot adventures, but so I'll lead it off for a second. You got anything fun to talk about, Joe? Is there anything exciting you want to throw out there that's happened? Anything funny you saw? Exploding people?
No, not recently.
I got a little kickback on the particular ad that I used for Facebook, but you know what? I don't really care. I thought it was fantastic. Made me laugh out loud, so I said, "Fuck it." I'm putting it on the ad. Did y'all see it?
Wait, what was the one on Facebook?
See it. I didn't see it.
Come on, I'm gonna go
my
look.
God. It's a bull, and it just fucking obliterates this elderly woman. I mean, boom! I mean, launched her out there like a wet sock, son. When I saw that, I go, wow, and you'll see where it's at. I mean, they worship them there.
Oh, my God, bro.
They let them walk around the streets, and I said, sometimes the things you worship don't love you back. So that was the most mild of the videos that I saw, but it got everybody's attention. I got a lot of LOLs and a lot of laughy faces, and then I got a lot of, you're very distasteful. So good for you. And so if you don't like it, don't come on here and don't look, don't watch. Who cares? Bye. It is what it is.
Oh, my God. Bro.
I know. Everybody gets so sensitive about stuff. They get so worked up about, oh, you said this, or you looked at me this way, or you didn't do this, or I'm just so tired of it, man. I just don't have enough violins.
Man, he like threw her like a doll.
She was beating on him in the face, though. But it's her.
Well, you know,
her
so
cane.
here's,
Bro,
you know,
there's one where this guy looks like he's into Santeria. He's all old, and he's all in white, and he's got a walker. That fucking bull hit him, connected him to his walker, and threw him up. It looked like Skywalker. That some bitch was upside down, laying on his back, and then the bull looks at him like this, and he walks away. It was the greatest. I'll do it next week.
you know, what's funny is the fact that, like, I'm always on the side of the bulls over there because they torment and torture those guys.
Well, not where this was taken. Not where this was taken. This was actually where they actually look at them as gods or they worship them. So they do whatever the fuck they want. Those things, whoever they kick old ladies' ass like that, then they go out and they have a hamburger or whatever.
Oh.
I mean, they don't.
Because in some areas they do horrendous, horrible things to them just to torture them to death. And so when a bull gets back, I'm kind of like, kind of deserve it.
Yeah, well, he just kind of he said, "Stop smacking me in the face." Like he went around her, he wasn't bothering her. He just wanted to go down the hall. And she like whacked. You can see it in the video. She started whacking him in the face, and he said, "What move?" And she like, ooh. It was like the Bionic Man. Dude, it was hilarious. I had to put it up. It's something I had to do.
You know, back in the day,
get over it.
Back in the day, in another life of mine, which wasn't a very good one, but I, in a family member of an extended family member, not in ours, so just want to preference that, was a professional bullfighter, and I went at him pretty hardcore. I didn't really like what he had to say, so
well, you know, everybody's got a different
I didn't
opinion.
hold back. I didn't hold back when I met him. I'll just say it
There's
like
always
that.
going to be a different opinion. To me, that was all comedy. I don't know why, but when someone gets fucking blasted by a bull or a buffalo, like that one, there's a video. There's a video of a 9-year-old girl out running around with her parents, and a male buffalo sends her to the moon. I mean, like to the moon. Ouch. He got her. She said, I mean, it was like, I mean, she wasn't coming back, man. Like she was gone. She survived. She didn't die, but it was hysterical. I mean, she flew so fast. It was like somebody put her in a catapult and cut the rubber band. She said, and then they play that song. Dun, 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 dun. It flies by the moon, goes around the world. You know, it was just somebody did. It was very comedic. It was awesome. Jimmy, you missed the appearance by Timmy Rifle last week. Jeff came on as Timmy Rifle. You missed it.
You did.
As Timmy Rifle.
Yeah, he came on as Timmy Rifle.
Oh my God!
A relative of Jimmy Rifle.
Yeah, well, Timmy Rifle.
Cousin.
That's awesome. Yeah. So anyway, so Bobby had a very valid point. He called me this week and he said, "Hey, I'd like to know if any of you or Brittany have talked about it." And I've been looking. What are the original origins of ghosts? When they started capturing them on film? And like, when was the first? Was it like far back as the Egyptians talk about it? Was it whatever? So it was very valid. There's something Brittany had to talk about. I guess it was about Abraham Lincoln's ghosts or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll let her get into that kind of stuff. But that was one of the things that we were going to talk about. So like, we really want to know about that. I know you had a Bigfoot adventure, Brittany. You went to Tennessee. You can tell us about that too. But why don't you give us a little bit of story about the ghosts and the origins of where those things are from?
Well, it all started when like So photography started, I think it was like 1860s. It was starting to be created. And then I think it went into full development in like the 1880s, 1890s. And then during that time, people started noticing like weird anomalies or figures in the pictures of relatives or family members or what have you. And at that time, you never would smile. You would just stand there very cold faced. And they would do photographs of those that had died. You would have photographs taken next to the deceased. And they would start noticing all these different things. And so then it became kind of during the whole spiritual era where women would like have their own seance rooms, and widows would come together to try and contact their relatives or their husbands or their dead, deceased, whatever, family members. And they would, the seance. And they would have their own seance room. So many times if you'd go to someone's house, it was like the women would have their seance room. The women would all get together, and that was ladies' night to do a seance. While the men went and, played poker or whatever. And so when that started, then spirit photography started. And so, Mary, of course, after Lincoln passed, wanted to test it for herself. And that photograph to date has still been not just proven whether it's authentic or not, or if this guy played a trick, but she took a picture and Abraham was in the photo with her in the spirit photography. So that's really where it all started. And it, as far as like pictures go, as capturing a picture, it really all started when they created film, because of how long it took to develop and the whole process behind it. And that's really when it all started. And then spirit photography started around the late 1800s, like 1890. And then it went all the way into like 1930s when seance was like huge and like really big seance.
So that's the first time.
And then you had plasma, where women, like people would like take pictures where people would actually have like this plasma that would come from their mouth, and that plasma would be faces of their relatives and dead ones. They would.
And where was this at?
All over.
Where?
They would do this all over. Yeah, it was all over, especially United States. It was big. I mean, it was a big deal.
Great. So what's interesting is that like you can find things like like spirits or whatever, like they referenced like demons in the Bible and stuff. So all that old stuff, and that was only 2,000 years ago. But I was wondering, like the Holy Ghost and all that moved across the water. But I was wondering also about the when you talk about like that type of stuff, was it ever documented even beyond that any of your scholars or people I've talked about, whatever you guys, ghostologists or whatever they call it?
There's not ghostology, even though there probably should be. There's parapsychology. So in parapsychology, they talk about it quite a bit throughout history, but there wasn't any photographs. It was more or less like spirit drawings, or there were people that were believed to be psychics or mediums in the past. And throughout history, they were able to channel in, and they would sketch an image of who they were seeing and who was talking to them. And so through that, they would then relate that to, I know who that person is. So that's kind of like where spirit art came from. And nonetheless,
think about the truth of that. Like that's not something that they would make up, like wizards and stuff. We were having this discussion the other day about wizardry in the Bible, because everybody was like anti Harry Potter, remember? Oh my gosh, we're going to boycott that. We got to be out there with our plan. And they got their signs. But the coolest wizard that I ever had contact or learned about when I was a kid was Moses. That was like the coolest fucking wizard. This motherfucker would split the goddamn ocean. All right, everybody, come on through. Ooh, all this wizardry shit, they seem to forgot about it, because someone used a wand and made an owl appear. But this guy split the sea and then collapsed it on all the enemies. He's turning staffs to snakes. He's up talking to God on the hill, bringing back down the 10 Commandments. They find him in the river. He doesn't even look like anybody else. No. I mean, that was like the coolest Gandalf ever lived. So all that stuff, all that paranormal stuff was in everybody's face. And it's just funny that it's always been everybody's face, but they always find some reason to debunk something or find it not to be true. And it's always been true to me. Always. And a lot of things, like I was talking to somebody yesterday, I said, I think that, you're missing it because you're so logical. I do think your father reaches out to you. You just don't see it because you're so logical. You try to think in such logic. Because, when you're a kid and you see things, and you do, I think every kid does, and you see things, it's interesting to me because your parents go, there's nothing there. It's just, it's your imagination and you're scared. Oh, that becomes a source of refuge, So So you begin to believe that, right? So if you start to get scared, like, oh, you remember that, your brain uses that, that's how your brain shields it. So you have a tendency to forget that you have the ability to see things. That's why I think animals and young kids do see a lot of interesting things. And it's just, I mean, you can have an out-of-body experience. A lot of people have. To me, that's your spirit leaving your body. Okay? So if you can't get back in there, your spirit just doesn't go, you know?
Well, astral projection, you can leave your body. So if you study astral projection and you're good at it, you can leave your body. When you get into a deep meditation state, you can physically leave your body.
Yeah, the monks have been doing it for years. You know, your brain is just.
It's like sleepwalking in a sense. I mean, realistically, that is where that stems from. You know, it's you're able to transport anywhere you want.
There's a guy that works for Flavio and I at the park. His name's Benny. He's a good friend of Joe's. And he said, when you really think about it, all you are is a brain and a stem.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, it's like this little brain with a bunch of stems. And he had a very valid point. I mean, that was a very valid point. Yeah, Dan, astral projection means that you can leave your body.
Yeah, it's like a deep meditation state where you can literally transport
here comes
yourself.
Special Ed right here with this.
Can I jump higher?
Who's the one getting all the lightning? Who's the one that's getting all the thunder?
Me.
Yeah, right now it's Joe.
You? Oh, okay.
We pissed off Moses.
Who the fuck is that?
We pissed off Moses.
I keep hearing it.
So that's what's interesting. We're so man, look into some of that shit. We're so adamant about debunking everything and everything's the devil, and we totally forget that in all these different religions. You know, I was out with the owners of the zoo the other day, and we went to dinner. And we were talking about all this really cool shit, and so much of that you know, witchcraft.
Oh my
God, I felt that here. Yay,
that was awesome.
bro.
So much of that witchcraft. Go bam. That was like could have been better.
God.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But it was in every type of religion. We just overlooked it. I mean, really. I mean, Jesus wasn't. He was that bad motherfucker too, walking on the water, making it rain bread and fish and shit like that. I mean, you know, I mean, come on though. I mean, like really, like let's think about that for a second. I mean, it's just there's so much.
I think it's just how you. I just think it's how you look at it. People don't like that term. It's a wizard, but if you're able to do these abilities that most earthly people don't or can't do, then you would be a wizard in a sense. Like
because everything that's witchery was bad. Remember, it was bad.
Of course,
but it's not true.
Because wizard is like they think witchcraft. You know, like they think like evil witchcraft cauldrons and
witchcraft
people.
Is bad. Like a lot of people look at
skinning
witchcraft
cats
as a
at
bad
night.
thing. We're not talking about weirdos that are, you know, stuffing hamsters up their ass and killing things and stuff in the name of whatever. We're talking about just regular Wiccanism is a really just an earthly practice. There's nothing wrong with it. So, but everything was so just blah, 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 and they forget that a lot of that was what the world was based on. Druidism.
Troy, do you remember when we went to the cemetery in Tallahassee? We went and saw the White Witch, the big what is it? The big memorial for her. That was pretty cool. You know.
The hell yeah, it was pretty badass.
Yeah, I mean, but she was killed more than once to make sure they killed her. Like when we made contact with her, the person I was with, they said that she told her that she was literally killed and then re-killed to make sure that she was killed. You know, that she was definitely dead. And
that happened a lot in Salem.
So
they would do that.
Let's touch on
even
that.
after they would burn the women at the stake, which a lot were wrongfully, first of all, murdered.
Yeah.
They weren't anything.
Yeah.
None of them even dabbled in witchcraft. You know, back then it was like, oh, they had a black cat in their window, they're witches. But they did the same thing multiple times. Like they would be taken off of the stake and then basically stoned or covered in stones and beaten and made sure that there is no life
there's a cemetery, Jimmy. There's a cemetery over in Europe where every skeleton has a brick shoved in his mouth because they were believed to be vampires and they didn't want them to come out at night. So the only way to stop them was to put bricks. They break their jaw and shove a brick in their mouth and bury them. Mm-hmm. And they're buried like that. And you can look it up. You can see it.
Yeah. And also in certain locations, a lot like up north, and a little bit out west, there are a lot of cemeteries where there's giant cages that actually are on top of the plot because they believe that if the vampire came back to life, that they wouldn't be able to really actually come out from the cage. So if you go into cemeteries and you see plots with cages, people were
I used to know
the vampire.
I used to know a real live vampire, and I'd have to go to his house and get him out. And he was really weird. He was a live vampire though, and so I'd say, Why do you have your windows all covered up and I have to grab him by his leg and drag him outside? As a matter of fact, he's making a very special appearance right now. His name is Justin Iguodala.
My God. I was like, wait, how come I've never heard of this vampire before? I was like, why am I just hearing about this guy?
It was just perfect timing. What's up, Jay Bird? How you doing, buddy?
I guess it was, but even I was interested. I was like, "Who's this vampire, bro?" And
I know. Like, why are we like meeting this guy? Holy crap.
Troy knows the fucking whole backstory to that, so he hit the nail on the head, but it didn't catch me because I was still backstage. So I was like, "Oh," I was like in tune. I was like, "Who is it? Please do tell."
But we did. We had a really good time. But yeah, there's a lot of that. I mean, there's a lot of towns, and they really did bury people like that with bricks in their mouths because they believed to be vampires, back in the 16th and 17th century. And don't forget, we went through the Dark Ages when all that evil, whatever stuff was going on, or wizardry and all that witches. So I find it interesting that in the 1700s, we're burning people at the stake because they're doing magic, but yeah, we don't even believe in it now. And it blows me away how we're so simple-minded anymore. And some of the stuff that I see every day, it makes you understand that there's a lot more life than we're looking at. Even with animals, if you start to watch their hierarchy and how they work, they're super intelligent, and we've just always believed that they're just a stupid object that we have to own and objectify, like women. Go ahead, Justin.
I came in on the back end of this conversation or whatever, but interestingly enough, so I listened to a podcast called Last Podcast on the Left.
Greatest podcast ever.
You listen to it,
got me into that, dude. I can't get off of it, Jeff.
Bro, I'm telling you, like, number one, they're hilarious. Did I lose you guys?
No, we're here.
Fuck, where are you going?
I hear you. Jay.
No, not anymore. You're gone.
Jay, are you frozen now? Joe, you still here?
There we go. I got you guys.
Okay, he's back. Jay's back.
Yeah, my Wi-Fi's on, so I don't know what that was. Yeah, so I've listened to them forever and a day. They're hilarious, and the way that they put things out, because they talk about all of this stuff, all the stuff that you guys are into, from true crime all the way to cryptids, all the way back to UFOs, and then conspiracies, the whole 9 yards. And they lay it out really well. So, man, I was just listening to an episode on the whole vampire thing not too long ago. What are you laughing at?
Jeff, people believe the government is ran by reptilian pedophiles. The fucking guy just throwing the shit at us today.
Dude.
The death episode is good. I can't wait. He was talking about that. Go ahead, Jay. Go ahead.
Dude, you got to hit, the Black Plague episode was phenomenal, bro, when it lays it all out. But then they go into, a bunch of stuff, like back in the day with the whole vampire thing, the tuberculosis. Because they would go into these graves and they would dig them up, and then there would be blood coming out of the mouth. And the hair would be growing, the nails are still growing. They just didn't understand the concept that your hair is still going to grow. It's just keratin. Your fingernails are going to grow as keratin, and then the blood coming out was all from the tuberculosis, which started the quote-unquote vampire thing. But super interesting the way that the world perceives and takes things, even to this day. Salem witch trials and shit, how long ago was that? That was, recent, if you really think about it.
It was, and according to our family, when my mother was researching, we're attached to the Salem witch trials, but on the bad side where they burn us and shit, stick stakes in our ass and stuff.
Brittany, we cannot hear you. You're muted.
She hasn't talked yet. Oh, what's she talking?
Brittany, are you muted? Yep.
I don't know. I don't know why.
You were talking on the computer. You were like,
there we go.
Well, the darn thing jumped from not being on my Yeti to my computer, and I hate when it does that to me. It just pisses me off.
Yeah, if you're not on the Yeti, it sucks. Go ahead, Justin. Let's finish up there. Sorry about that.
No, I think it's super interesting. When, because you guys know me, I've always been a skeptic, and we did. I don't know if a lot of the listeners know. We did this WTF paranormal thing, and the whole thing. Yeah, you did. Yeah, you fucking did. It was a fun night, but then I'm a skeptic, and then you have Brittany, who's super into that stuff. So she was the teacher, you would say, at that point, where when we're doing the animal stuff, it's the other way around. So then it was us being taught how all this shit works and how this stuff goes. And I do think it's super interesting because even though I am a skeptic, you got to try and keep an open mind on all different parts of life. And even to this day, you got to listen to the Aleister Crowley. When you get into the Aleister Crowley and all the crazy shit that dude did, and and how it all connects with basically a lot of the shit that we deal with today, even in the government and all that stuff. People still doing these same practices, these same rituals, these same fucking basically black magic shit within the government and all that other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The answer to that is no, Dan.
Oh shit! Are you guys cutting out again?
No, you're here.
No, you're good. You're good.
It's all right, Jay. We'll wait for you to come back. Dan, no, Justin did not make it.
He was watching paint dry.
That's cool. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Are you guys all having this problem, or is it?
Nope, just you, buddy.
Nah,
Just
it's
you.
just you.
It's always just me, dude. I'm just, you know what, dude? I just come in. What I like to do is I like to show up and just fuck everything up. Apparently,
It's okay.
that's what I'm good at.
Maybe it's just trying. Sometimes it tries to jump back and forth between cellular and Wi-Fi, and it glitches.
Well, I have my Wi-Fi set. Should I not?
No, if your Wi-Fi is on, turn your singular off, and if your singular is on, turn your Wi-Fi off. Your signal.
How many times we've had this discussion with you, Justin? On
Because it'll always, if a signal gets weak, it'll try to jump to the next one.
Well, I
Really
just pulled off
stealing
the green one.
Yeah, if you turn the green one off and stay on Wi-Fi, then it'll tell you which one's shit.
All right, perfect. So I think we should be good now.
Yeah, you sound
So
really good.
fill me in. Sorry, I came late. I wanted to get here on time, but I was dealing with the state issues and stuff, trying to get everything squared away to do the
We
move.
just got started on that. Brittany was talking about the origins of when the ghosts were starting to be captured on film back, during the Abe Lincoln time, 1860s or whatever she said, and then they started using EVP in different types of communication things. But it's pretty interesting to me because I know there's a few in the house here, and it's just so random sometimes. You have to get used to it. And I think Joe had a good experience with one so far now. And sometimes they come through and they say something and you hear it in the middle of the room, and for a minute,
In your house?
you're like, okay, yeah,
There's more than one.
yeah, of course. I think
but you
bring
can't. I mean, you can't include Cody just because you hear weird sounds at night doesn't mean it's always that.
That's very true. That's it. Debunked.
You got to count for
None.
the you got to.
But yeah, there's some neat things. I mean, there's some really cool stuff, and there's some interesting places. I really we had a really good time, Justin. We went to the Ma Barker house, which was the longest mob shootout ever.
Well, you know what's
and that was amazing.
Again, so I just listened to the Ma Barker podcast from the whole thing, and it was after you guys had mentioned it because I had passed it a couple of times on the deal.
Oh. And you're frozen.
And he's frozen. I love how it's
I
like.
don't think it's your Wi-Fi, buddy. But you got something in your eye, Justin?
I just ruined everything, dude. I just
It's
fucking
right
ruined everything.
Oh, there he is.
So you guys were talking about Ma Barker.
Yeah,
and
you said you skipped past it on the very last one.
Well, I kept running past it. I read the gist of it, and I was like, "That's interesting. I'll come back to it." But there was some other stuff I wanted to listen to, and then I went back, and dude, this lady was literally built a whole family of gangsters. That was her deal. She would have all these kids, and then that was her henchmen. So if she didn't want a boyfriend, then the kids took care of that. And then if she didn't want another boyfriend, the kids took care of that. I didn't know they were here though.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go again. Fuck.
No, you're good.
You're all right.
You're still good.
You're fine.
No, he freezes
Not
first.
now.
No, he's not.
It freezes on his end first. It's okay,
Yeah,
man. It's all right. He'll come back in. It freezes on his first. That's all. That's why he knows it's coming. Oh my God, who is that?
I switched back. I switched to the.
Is that little alligator wrestler I sent you that video of today?
Yeah, it is. She's trying.
Did you show her that video? You have to.
I'm gonna.
Remember, she wrestled the big alligator head in her diaper. It was awesome.
Back when she was still.
Yeah, and she did the head thing. She stuck her head in there and put her hands out like this. Best video ever. When she was a foot tall.
I haven't got a chance to show her yet. After we got off the phone, it's just been nothing but doing work
Still
and
love
stuff.
it.
But yeah, so I listened to that whole episode just because you guys went. That was the whole reason and the basis for me listening to the episode, because I wanted to find out the backstory and all that stuff. And it was pretty amazing backstory that they had there, but I didn't know that they were in Florida.
Well, if you're a skeptic, that's the house to go to. You won't be.
Well, that's my whole thing is
They didn't
I
start
keep it
here.
open enough. Go ahead.
right? They didn't start here, right? They came
No.
here after she retired. Right?
This was like their retirement.
Retired.
To
Yeah,
be in
right.
Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Retire.
And it was an alligator that gave him away.
Was it
Yeah,
really?
yeah.
Yep, it was an alligator.
I didn't hear
Big
that.
Gator
What was
Joe, right? I think it was
Gator
Joe.
Joe's
Gator
place,
Joe.
but there was a one-eyed alligator in the lake. They went, yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
A really good
So-
story about that.
Yeah, interesting. It
Yeah.
was definitely a super interesting deal right there with the Mob Barker thing. I would love to go check the house out. I would love that. So,
Sarah's
That was
new
a
job
good. That was
is
a good
literally like
location.
15 minutes from there. She
you're 15
Sarah's
minutes?
new job.
Yeah, Jimmy's got he can get in there. He's got people that connect, and he gets in there overnight.
Yeah,
So
we
you
could
can go in
talk.
at night.
We could probably. I mean, if we want to try it again, we could definitely probably try to set something back up.
I'd go out there with you guys. I would love
It's
to
really
go
cool,
just-
man. It's
because
I like it.
You would
It's just-
never
there's a
show
lot.
up,
You just-
bro.
Jeff,
right.
are you listening? Not Jeff not Goldblatt, but the other Jeff.
all you got to do, bro, is just expect me to be there 15 minutes late. Fine. Oh, which is not really late because I'm Cuban, so there's no such thing as late.
Dude, I'm still waiting for that Tuesday that you were coming here.
Bro, there's so many Tuesdays, bro. That's why I just never tell you which Tuesday. That way when I'm there, I'm like, I'm
There's
here
so
on
many
Tuesday, bro.
Tuesdays.
Fucking
There's so many
Tuesday.
Tuesdays in a year. Just say Tuesday.
Exactly.
So when I
That's
show
why
up
he
on
says
Tuesday, I'm
Tuesday
going to be
because
like,
it can be
"Fuck."
anyone. Don't you
I
remember?
gotta leave it vague.
Don't you remember? I'll gladly play you on Tuesday for a hamburger today.
Yes,
I'll
that is
I'll
so
gladly pay you on
Justin.
Tuesday for a hamburger today.
Yep.
Wimpy.
A Tuesday.
Shit.
That's
So a
pretty
fun
Uh,
quiz for you guys. Do you know where the term "Saved by the Bell" came from?
That was
A TV
what
show.
was that guy's name?
No. Where it actually came from? The coined "Saved by the Bell." Does anybody know where that
Saved by
came
the
from?
Bell was fuck. I just learned about this. I want to say it was Mama. You gotta get on
Not
my
Zach Morris. not
Was
Zach
it
Morris, guys.
no.
We can do
It
the
was
song
like
from
a-
the '90s sitcom. Da-na-na-na-na-na-na.
No, it had nothing to do with the
What's
sitcom.
up, Zach?
I want to say
Sweet.
Saved by the Bell wasn't it something with hanging?
No.
Am I close?
Nope.
Can you give
Am
me a
I
hint?
close?
Yeah. Would you like to call a friend, Justin?
Yes, I would like to call a friend, please.
Hey, call Brittany. Call Brittany, Justin.
Don't. Yeah, if my phone starts ringing, I swear I'm gonna be so mad.
What's the hint? Give me a hint. I swear I just learned this too.
It involves dead people. Let's just say that.
Oh, Saved by the Bell when they used to tie the bells to the people in the coffins,
Yes.
Yes.
Because they used to actually bury
Wow.
people alive quite
and
frequently.
that was yes.
So they
They
pull a
said-
little string.
They would tie it to their finger, and so that way through the wood coffin, if they started to move, the bell would start to ring, and they would realize. And how they actually discovered this was because there were certain diseases at that time that would slow our heart rate almost to the point of death, to where even George Washington said, "Do not bury me until 3 days after I have died," to make sure that he was actually dead. So he laid in bed for 3 days dead.
Stinking
And he
up.
said, "I don't want to be touched or buried. You wait." Because when it first discovered, there was a caretaker that actually had heard a lot of noise, just kind of didn't pay any attention to it. And then when they basically dug up this coffin, this woman had scratched the inside of it so much that stripped all of her nails back. Her bones were exposed, and she had died in the coffin trying to scrape out. So from that point, they then said, okay, from this point out, no matter who dies, why these plagues come through and these
Good
diseases
God.
come through, we're going to tie bells to their fingers. So when they start moving, and at one point there was a cemetery back up north that
What if the
basically
string
one
broke?
night you're screwed. But I mean, the thing is like there was a story that I had researched from a cemetery up north that literally at one point in the night, the caretaker had 7 bells going off at once. So he had to call in for help from the local men to help basically uncover these people, because there were like 7 bells going off at once in one cemetery.
Oh my
And
God.
there was no way for him to unbury all of these people. So, and then the word
Well,
shallow
they all-
grave
they
came
all-
into
they
play
all
because they
fucked up.
needed. Yeah.
Oh
So they
my
started
God.
burying shallow. So shallow grave. They started burying shallow. So it'd be quicker for them to get these bodies out. And then they would also tie the bells.
Yeah,
so
they don't
you
even
were
do that
saved
up
by the bell.
in Tallahassee. They just throw a little stone over top of them. You look in there and see the skeletons laying in there and shit.
That's right.
I'm not kidding. Jimmy found a whole skeleton, dude. A whole skull and everything in there.
What?
Yep. It was just laying
Awesome.
there. The head was all on the
I
side. It was all in there.
guarantee you it's still like that, probably to this day.
Yep. Yep.
What? Was it
You
in
can
a
look at the
cemetery?
flashlight, lay
Yeah,
on
it was right in the
ground,
cemetery,
and you
dude.
can
Like from the
see
old days,
skull.
it was cracked, and you could take a picture in there, and there's the body, and the old bones were in there, and everything.
And they were just like, throw some dirt on it. Let's get out of here.
Yep.
Jeff, that's only in New
uprooted.
York. Joe said that that's only in New York.
What is?
You have to poke a body with a stick when you find one.
We're on Stand By Me.
That was good too. Good movie. But yeah, so a lot of that, like, there's a lot of that out there, and there's some neat shit. I think we ought to definitely go back out and do a bunch of that. I'd like to do Ma Barker House again. It was pretty good.
I'd go out there with you now, having the history too, and just being able to see it. Yeah, and
fun.
I keep an open mind. I just, I like to see
I
things for
still
myself.
remember when I gave Justin the dowsing rods, and he's like, "I don't believe this." I said, "Why don't you ask the spirits something that only you would know about yourself and see if they cross?" And he's standing there, and all of a sudden he gets real quiet and he just throws him to the ground and he goes, "F their shit." I said, "Why?" And he goes, "Because I asked them a question and only I would know the answer, and they didn't move." And he left through. I laughed so hard. I was like, "Well, there you go."
Because Justin died, he'd be around, fucking around.
Of course he would.
Yeah, well, I mean, what
Every
else is there to do
Tuesday
afterwards?
or one Tuesday in the year at some point, he'd
He would
show up on a
a
Tuesday.
particular Tuesday for a haunting.
Yeah.
I'll gladly
Yeah.
haunt you today.
He'd be like, "Hey, it's Tuesday.
If I don't
I'd
have
be
to
a
What's
come on
this
Tuesday.
Tuesday?"
I'd be at Joe's every Tuesday, and that's all you would hear. It's Tuesday, motherfucker. You got your
said I
Tuesday.
wouldn't come.
It is Tuesday.
You
So-
said I wouldn't come, and here I am.
But yeah,
Well, we
dude,
had a
like,
good time.
lot-
I mean, I was almost Justin almost made me a ghost, but it just wasn't ready.
we had fun that night, though. We had fun that night. We had fun. That was
We had a
good.
lot of fun. Almost killed me.
Yeah.
But good
Not
times,
that.
man.
I mean,
That's
we
when
had
you know
fun
it was
that
good.
night. Not when I tried to kill you with the COVID. That was
But that was a
biological
fun night.
warfare.
The COVID night, we had a good time.
Yeah, it was just the following days after that nobody was
The
having
following
a good time.
days were horrible.
It was so bad.
Weeks.
They were,
Weeks.
man. I thought I was going to have to be haunting. That's not that level. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff. So, anyways, Brittany, why don't you start talking about Bigfoot before Samantha has a heart attack?
I don't. Well, what do you want to know? We went up to.
You were all just doing pictures with all that shit. That's what she wants to know.
Yeah, no. So we were right inside Townsend, Tennessee, which is right. It's a really good location, actually. It's right dead
Right
center
there.
between
That's
Gatlinburg
top floor.
and Pigeon Ford.
Okay.
But it happens to be in Tennessee, one of the Bigfoot hotspots. So we turned a corner and all of a sudden there was like store after store after store after store that had giant Bigfoot out front and like Bigfoot merchandise and Bigfoot Philly cheesesteaks and get your, it was ridiculous. Everything was
pretty good.
It's probably just my dad they're seeing out
What
there.
about a Bigfoot OnlyFans page?
Yeah, there probably is that too. Who knows? I'm sure that's out there. But yeah, and so there.
Bigfoot feet.
But I mean, so it was interesting. So I ended up talking to this older gentleman. It was really funny. He has a carving station there in town, and they do like a bunch of wood carvings that are really incredible. He actually did the White Witch from Narnia, which thing was like 10 feet tall.
What is Narnia?
Incredible sculpture.
Wasn't that like a
What's
C.S.
that?
Lewis Christian book?
Yeah, but it was like the evil witch from there, and she was like, she had the really cool hair, and like it was just really anyway.
Narnia. Wasn't Narnia the
stunning.
damn movie, bro?
Yeah, but it came from a
Yeah,
book.
there was a movie.
Yeah, it was like the Lion
Oh.
Witch in the Wardrobe.
Yeah.
Right. So they made a book from the movie.
Oh my God, the Jew at the zoo. All right, he's here. I was waiting. I knew it was going to happen.
He
soon.
always
This
comes
Bigfoot,
in the
like,
last
really-
10 minutes.
He does. You let him come in the last 10 minutes. He's got a family. He's got to put him to bed.
Hello.
Brittany,
I don't want to
not-
heir it.
it's
I
not
come
his
running
fault.
in, bit still awake.
Justin's like, look behind me.
it's not his
Exactly.
fault that he's
Oh,
a
I don't
better
even pay
parent.
attention to those. I tune those out, bro. So I got my
He's
headphones.
just a better parent.
I'm just
Brittany.
messing with
That's
you,
all there is to it.
Jason. I'm just messing with you, Jason.
Don't pick on him. He's just a better parent. I mean,
Yeah, he is. Good for him.
And he wears tank
Not
tops
all of
to
us
the
can
zoo.
be as good as Jason. Okay.
He's fucking
You know he
getting
wears
buff.
it better than all of us.
Justin, you should see him.
What?
Jason's getting all buff now.
Is he getting all buff?
Yeah, dude, he walked up out there with a tank top on next to me at the park. I said, "God damn, bro."
Is he getting? Is he
What the
getting
hell's
summer
going on?
bod
I
on,
didn't know
bud?
if I'd be intimidated or attracted. I was like, too much
Oh
going on
my
here at one
God!
time.
Oh my
Too much
God!
going on.
Yeah.
Way too
I
much
had-
going on.
I
You
have
know
to
what,
go cool
dude?
myself
A
off.
smile and a wink, you'll be on your back.
Joe.
I liked
Good
him.
night,
I
Joe.
liked him because that mofo, literally, I don't care who's around. Like, we had that. We did the, when we went to the zoo, and they did the talk for us, and we were Kurt and everybody. Yeah,
Yep.
I'll tell you what, Jason, you smile more than anybody I've ever met. in my
I've already
entire
told
life.
him that. That's what I like about the guy. I thought he was on some good drugs. I said, this guy's got some Skywalker, some Bellamy Brothers, something going on over here.
I don't care who you are or what kind of day you're having. If you're around that guy, you're gonna smile too. It's like infectious. Because the whole time I talked to him, I was
true.
smiling too.
All right,
You
so
don't even
Brittany,
know why.
Samantha.
so I know I'm smiling now just thinking about him in a tank top. So Brittany, Samantha, so obviously Bigfoot is real. Do you think that they are still around today or just a prehistoric primate?
Have you seen my
I
father?
think it.
Or Jimmy,
Good
for that
God,
matter.
Jason.
I mean, look at Jimmy. He's right fucking there in the middle, bro. He looks like Bigfoot right now with that beard. Fucking
He
kicking
does.
like that.
We caught one.
Don't
If
you
I
remember,
put John
Justin?
out in the woods,
So go ahead, Brittany. Answer that question for her, though. That's a good question. We're digressing like a bunch of losers. So I don't want any more hate mail or
Sorry.
hate stuff. So
All right.
let's
just Brittany
answer the
then.
question. Brittany, Samantha.
I think
asked.
anybody could answer it, but yes.
No, you answer it. That's
Well,
your thing. You're a
the
Bigfootologist.
Bigfootologist here. Come
Yes, one I do a Bigfootologist. That's not a thing. It's cryptozoology.
It's a Bigfootologist on the Motley Croc show. It is.
Okay, it's a Bigfootologist. Sure.
Okay.
We'll just go with it tonight. Anyway, really crazy.
You
Yeah,
just
I do
pissed
think they're
off a
still
bunch of
around
people.
today. I know. I do think they're still around today, and I do believe that they're literally just a primate that never went extinct. We have the Gigantopithecus from history that we know. You know, everybody gets really confused from their history of thinking about how the land bridges worked and how everything actually morphed and split apart. And as that happened, we know the Gigantopithecus and Gigantopithecus blacki did exist and it was around. And so for me personally, I don't think it's this crazy monster. I don't think it's a lineage of our family tree. I don't think any of that from my own research. I firmly believe that it's just a North American primate that we have that also is in other countries as well. It's just during the shifts of land, some landed here, some didn't. So,
Well, I mean, if you take a look at like, so
We did. We fucking sure did. That was insane. I've never seen a person.
that was a giant.
That guy would look like somebody we
Giant.
know. Like, so we know a couple little guys that play with alligators, right? So if you were to put Justin next to the guy that we met there at that fucking place, it would look like one of them standing next to Justin. Hey, if you use Justin as the little guy, insane.
I would be the
7
little guy.
foot plus, dude.
Yeah.
7 foot plus with a 6 foot shoulder span.
Holy shit!
The guy was cool as shit, though.
Yeah, he was really nice.
Really
I
not
thought you were
really
gonna go
badass
the-
guy, man.
I thought you were gonna go the other route because of
Nah, bro.
No, bro, he
Terry
was
Paul over
so
there.
no, bro.
Thanks.
Bro,
When he got up and walked, you don't understand. I felt like, listen,
he sat
David
down.
Goliath
in
is real.
he sat down in a folding chair,
David Goliath.
and his knees were at his earlobes.
It looked like he was sitting in a child's tea chair. When he stood up and walked, bro, everybody 6'1" people plus were at his tits.
Yeah.
Oh
Unbelievable.
my god!
Ginormous dude. Ginormous dude.
Well,
But it was
check
cool,
this
man. He
out,
was
like,
really cool guy. Not like tall people aren't cool. I mean, but he was just a big dude, just the nicest guy, man, because you know he could just grab your neck and smash you.
Yeah,
He
he
could
was
pick you
real.
up by your
really
head
nice.
like a
Well, he
shack
could have his
of
hand. He
basketball.
could have put his whole hand around T. Mike Kleber's hand, Justin.
Well, I'm gonna go back to Mike T-Bear's hand, dude. That's a fucking,
Kleber, he has
that's
fucking
a-
Thor hammers. His
that's a
hands
face-
look like the hammer of Thor. Both
looks
of
like
them.
a catcher's mitt, bro. He's got catcher's mitts for hands, bro.
And when he makes that fist, it's like a pumpkin. It's unbelievable.
But back to what Brittany said about the whole possibly being a North American primate and then the one extinct one or whatever. I mean, if you really think about it, because when I was looking into the hybrids of polar bears and grizzly bears, which often
that
happen,
happened.
because somebody had gotten in trouble because they went out for an Inuit hunt, they paid for the hunt, and then I guess you could hunt like one polar bear for whatever reason that you want to. I mean, it's not my thing, but the guy went out there with the Inuits, they shot the bear, it looked like a polar bear. Then they got in a lot of trouble because when they came back and they did the DNA test, they found out that it was
hybrid.
It was a hybrid. So the way that happened was the way that everything had split up, and then at certain times of the year, I guess there's a pathway that these guys can get all the way up north, and then that pathway closes off, whether there's too much snow or not enough to be able to get across the one plane there. So I guess if what Brittany was saying, folds out, I mean, it's very possible for anything to travel to places that we can't see. I mean, look at that hybrid. Like, I think they found, I want to say they've only found, natural hybrids as far as it happening in the wild, like maybe a handful. So if you think about that and all of the research that's constantly done consistently, I mean, it wouldn't be too far of a stretch to believe that there is something out there that we haven't found. We find species
100%.
of new shit. We find species of new shit every single day.
We do.
But it's funny. It's because this is a point it's that too. This is a point I always try to make to people, and this is a fight that I have in this field work with people, is the fact that they're like, oh no, we're in the woods all the time. We'd see it all the time. I'm a hunter. I've been in the woods all the time.
Polar
I
bear,
see it all the time. Blah, 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 blah. Right? I get really tired of hearing that, because the point I make is you're not in the woods tracing it every single day. And guess what? You could totally bypass each other, for one. Two, when you're driving in the road, like you're just driving, where is your focus? Your focus is on the cars in front of you and around you. You're talking in the car. You're not paying attention. Your cell phone, Joe, no texting and driving. So you're literally, you're so distracted by so many other things. This is the reason why a lot of people miss UFOs. No one's constantly looking up in the sky. No one's constantly looking on the side of the road. And guess what? Sasquatch aren't on the side of the road with their thumbs out like, hey guys, you see me? No, they're smart enough as animals to know we go off the road a little bit. But when do you see them the most? At night, crossing fast. What happens in animals that are
when
not
you're drunk,
nocturnal?
smoking pot.
They're running fast. That too. But what I'm saying is these are the incidences where they're seen the most, because they're thinking it's the least amount of time you're going to see them. During the day, a lot of the captures that do happen that are good quality videos that even I've been given to review, they're on the side of the road and they've actually had to stop, turn around. They thought it was a bear and it wasn't, and they filmed it. So unless you're really out the car looking, which is what I do, I don't recommend everybody doing it. I do it all the time. If I'm in the passenger seat, I'm looking out, always looking up and looking out, because I want to see it. And if it's there, I'm going to see it.
I mean,
but on average, the normal person doesn't do that. So you're going to miss these things.
Do you think if you saw one, you would stutter?
Oh my God, I think I'd pee my pants. I wouldn't even move.
Bigfoot?
I would die. If I actually had this conversation this week when I was in the mountains with John, and I said, because, the cabin, the bear came up right onto our porch. So I'm like, I'm in the middle of Bigfoot country. And if a Sasquatch, and I know this is going to sound crazy and you guys might laugh, but there is documentation of them looking in windows, curiosity from what they claim to be juveniles, just being curious with looking in windows. And so those pictures are frightening to me, because your home is your sanctuary where you feel the safest. If I'm going out and camping in the woods and I know I'm in your territory, don't come to mine. So when I see these videos and pictures, they're alarming to me. So I even told John, I said, if I open up this blind, I want to see Bigfoot, but I don't. Because if I'm out here on the porch and Bigfoot just comes walking past,
you're dead.
I would die by Bigfoot.
So the children won't have a mother anymore.
Stand there. I don't think I do, because fear and excitement catches up to you at once, because it's like, holy shit, I was right. There it is. I'm looking at it. I knew it. I believed it.
Matt Moneymaker survived. So, I mean, if Matt Moneymaker
what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? What if I have the one asshole that just decides hey, you're fun. Let's break you in half. I don't know.
Like you're talking about, which is an interesting theory. Bobcat Goldthwait, remember? He did that movie about the Bigfoot, and in the end, did you see it, Brittany?
Oh.
Did you ever see it?
No.
In the very end, there's Bigfoots, and he's dragging naked women around. He was just kidnapping women at campsites, and it was like, holy shit, they're gonna have a horrible night tonight. It's just gonna be a horrible night.
That story is historical, though. There were, in other countries, there have been horrendous stories where Sasquatch creatures, the wild men, would come into these native territories and steal the women, take
Yeah, but
women.
that was just El Chapo.
They're
so.
called wild men in other countries. Yeah, like certain
But can you
countries,
imagine?
they're
Can you
called
imagine an
wild
8-foot
men.
beast just takes you for a good time? No tequila,
terrible.
no numbing cream, nothing.
Now wait a minute. Hold on. Before we get off topic there is one story, and her, she always wanted to remain anonymous, and I understand why, because her claim seemed a little crazy, but
Who is it?
it really happened. I can't anonymous, Justin. Anyway, she actually was an avid, like in her late 30s at the time of the incident, but she was an avid explorer. She went out, naturalist, did everything by herself, survivalist. She was kayaking. Basically, her kayak flipped. She was stuck. She got injured, and she woke up to large, hairy, bipedal creatures taking her into the woods. And these creatures actually helped heal her over 3 days and took her back to a location where the search and party rescues, they knew where they were, and basically put her in the kayak and pushed her along the way. And they found her 3 days later. And she didn't want to tell anybody her story. No, she wasn't pregnant. But she later on, after all this happened, she ended up telling the story and being anonymous, like kind of turning it in, because she was like, I want people to understand that they're almost like humans, because they understand they were healing me naturally with different leaves and things, but how they were treating me was much like primate, like gorilla. They took me in. The babies were playing with my hair. They were looking at my hands, and the elders were watching, and they would leave. And then the females were taking care of her and nurturing her. And so she wanted it to be very known that they were very primate, like very animalistic, very primate. And they were caring and they were nurturing. And then they knew she was injured and helped her back to get back to her people.
All right. So I got a serious question for you, Brittany. Now that we know where Jimmy came from, all jokes aside, seriously. So everybody knows. I think this is a serious question. All jokes aside, so everybody in the whole entire world knows the most famous footage of Bigfoot, right? It's the
Patterson
Gimlin. Patterson, right?
Yep.
So, of everything that we watch and stuff, because they've done so many documentaries on it, and then they want to know if it was a fake film, and they have the real film and all that stuff, and then they tried to put like all the measurements and the way they walked and all that stuff, and it was compelling to say the least, or whatever. But then, like, how do you feel about that? Do you think that was a hoax for just attention, or do you think that was an actual somebody saw some shit?
No, that was 100% real. That sighting alone set the pathway for Sasquatch. That to date is still one of the best footage captured. Now you have to think about the time, right? This is late 60s. We're talking at the time where costumes were
everybody was eating acid.
Shit.
Exactly.
But Patterson, Patterson and Gimlin, these two gentlemen were older at the time, and they anyway. This footage.
They were hunting frogs, right? They were looking for frogs in the river, and they rode up and saw it.
Not this time. No, they actually were trying to go on an investigation in hopes of finding and filming, and they were actually on horseback at the time. And if you actually want to hear the whole story, it's going to be on a show tomorrow night where my mentor talks about it, Professor Jeff Meldrum. And so they basically they stumbled across this creature, and they didn't mean to startle her in the way that they did. And it's funny, not until about 15 years ago did they realize the creature was even female. And the reason why, but that's the thing. So and as crazy as this sounds, if you're just throwing on a costume, and the guy that came forward was like, oh, here's the costume that I was wearing, it doesn't even match anything with the suit, because when they realized that it was a female, and this thing has individual breasts that are actually swaying with the movement of the posture of the body.
Love it.
This is too much work to put into just hoax. At that time, with the material they had, with the best costume designers at the time from Hollywood, they wouldn't even thought about that. It literally would have just been, get in a suit from this distance at this speed, it'll look great. They didn't think about biology. So the fact that this thing, physically has movement and muscle tissue and movement to its own body that you can now see through stabilization that they've done in new software programming that literally changed the dynamic of this film and allowing us to see that this female not only was real, but was a female is extremely incredible. And for me, continues to fuel the fire for me on the side of Gimlin, because he's still around and he's still out there saying this was authentic. This was 100% true. Bigfoot was real. And she got, Bigfoot got coined only because of the foresters, the original gentleman who found a footprint and was like, what the hell is this? Basically in the late 1950s, early 60s, and coined the term Bigfoot because they made a footprint of this cast that they had around the forest where they were deforesting and tearing down trees, the loggers. And that's really where it started. The term Bigfoot didn't stem from Patterson Gimlin. It actually came from several years prior when they found a footprint and casted it. And then everybody went on this journey of what's really out in the woods. What is this thing? And then hunters started coming forward. Then history started becoming, more prominent where people are like, holy crap, even Leif Erikson, a lead Viking, spoke about these things. How did we miss this? So it's incredible. Native Americans have talked about Sasquatch forever. That's where Sasquatch comes from. And so how we just assumed that this wasn't real or didn't exist is crazy because our history for hundreds of years has told us otherwise. So it's basically our own ignorance that has done this. And so now with this footage, it's the only part that I have now, and the complaint I have now is there's people wanting to hoax and be the next big hoaxer to get enough views. And the problem is when
like a close call
with so much. Well, not even that. With so much that came out afterwards or whatever, then it makes it really hard, even for me. And being brutally honest, like it's hard for me to look at it and be like, okay, it's not a hoax, considering everything that came after it. With so many people trying to copy this, that, and the other, put Bigfoot marks everywhere, and then try and claim feces and this, that, and the other, and all this other nonsense that you consistently see from people trying to get this attention, and some of these TV shows that are a little bit overboard.
That's for cryptozoology. And then do this one strictly for Sasquatch. This will give you 100% truth from the beginning to end. This is from my mentor, Jeff Meldrum. This book was also forwarded and signed by Jane Goodall. She actually speaks in there about
just in case they're watching,
why she believes in Bigfoot.
Andrea brought you back that Jeff Meldrum folder I got you, Brittany, when she was in the Yellowstone. It's like a real thing.
Yes,
so they brought it back for
the field guide. Yes. So it was funny. Jeff, I kept saying, Jeff, I want one. And he's like, okay, I'll send you a digital. And now that I have an actual physical, tangible one, I am like so excited. So thank you.
They gave it, I was like, oh shit, that's awesome. Yeah, her and her friend Douglas went out there and brought that back. So
wait, so Jane Goodall speaks on this shit as well?
Yeah.
Yes, she does. Jane Goodall believes, for her, she likes to words it is much different than ours. Because she's English. So for her, it's like a romantic thing of this idea because of her love and obsession of primates, that there's this other beautiful primate that's, living in the mountains that is yet to be discovered. That's possibly more like intelligent, more advanced. And up until recent times, a lot of people aren't aware, but up until recent times, orangutans have been showing that they can make tools to basically hunt and spear their food. And orangutans come from the lineage of Gigantopithecus. Like they're actually a part of that family tree. So if Sasquatch is a lineage from that tree as well, then if enough research is done correctly, we might find like tools being created and things like that, because it's not unheard of in primates to create these things.
So
but orangutans are known for that.
So me
I don't want to get scared.
Me still being a skeptic just because of all the hoaxes that come out afterwards and all that stuff. Do you think that the TV shows that are out, now are more harmful to actual real research?
Yes.
And
doesn't it depend on the show? You're not talking about There's Something on the Hill, are you?
I don't know. There was a bunch of shows that were coming out.
Brittany likes one that like There's Something on the Hill. She loves that one. I can't remember which one it was.
No, there was
I
some
honestly
with
don't.
like some drunk dudes out there screaming about Bigfoot, this, that, and the other, and then they found a baby and blah 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 blah, bullshit, all that nonsense. And then knowing how TV works from the inside and seeing like being my own part of like scripted shit, then it really gets into my mind of like, okay, what's fucking real and what's not, and which is why I always need to see the proof myself and all that stuff. But then I wonder too, like, if there is something out there, and I won't say definitively that there is or there isn't. I respect everybody's beliefs, but at the same time, I wonder if bullshit like that hinders the actual fucking research of it when people make it into sensationalized monetary bullshit.
Yes. It's destroying the real research because the universities have stated that if we can actually do true the biggest problem I have is that they always say, where's the body? Where's the hair?
They say it like that, like they're from
yes,
from Family Guy.
that's how I hear it. You know, those moments where you're like, that's how I hear it. That's what they sound like to me. But they don't know how the wilderness really works. That's the biggest beef problem I have. If something dies in the woods, how often do you just go out in the woods and find a bear carcass? You're not going to. It's a rare find. Sorry, it just is. And if anybody comes across a dead bear carcass, it looks like a human. So I don't want to even hear it because it literally looks like a person laying there.
Yeah. Well,
the Rise of the Warrior Apes. It's called the Rise of the Warrior Apes. Fucking badass.
That bear that was found not too long ago that was all sickly with no hair and shit like that they thought was some sort of cryptid, and ended up being that fucking little black bear that was just real sick. But that's my whole thing is like, it's hard to discredit the whole damn thing because there's so many people with actual real degrees and real like literal doctors and shit that do this shit, and then you see these TV shows and you're like, all right, this is all bullshit.
Listen, Justin, I'm not going to say the show that I saw this on. I'm not going to say who say it. I'm just going to keep it the way it is. But there was a Bigfoot show where they basically came across honest to God mountain lion activity. And these experts claimed that they've never seen anything like this in their entire lives in the woods. And this is what they do. And this is what they've done. And da-da-da-da-da. And it was like literally mountain lion activity with every type of everything that you could literally go, that's totally like a mountain lion behavior, because even Troy will know. And remember, when we lived on the mountain, we had a mountain lion that stalked, killed, and buried its food in its little cave. Like literally, that's how they found Bob's baby llama. Was basically his feet were half out of the dirt because the mountain lion was stalking and burying its food. And after they found the baby llama, they're like, holy shit, this thing's burying all the food. Everybody underestimates the mind of an animal. If an animal
think it was
it's ridiculous.
A Sasquatch wearing mountain lion boots.
That's right. Get them off the trail.
I will tell you that I do think that in the mountains where we stayed, I do believe there were squawks there. You know, there was a few things that was pretty unexplainable to us when we were kids. And we lived way out there. So like when I tell you that our family just wanted to buy, they bought like you needed a helicopter to get to town. So
well, you got to really think about
when it snowed, you had no power and you lived off a wrought iron stove. Let's just be real there for a minute.
That was our fireplace.
And I want to say, like they say, 95% of the actual Earth itself, aside from the ocean, not counting the ocean, 95% of the land has been explored. But then if you really take that, and then you take the amount of species that we find on a daily basis that are brand new, it's kind of, I don't know, man. It's hard for me to say yes. It's hard for me to say no. There's a lot of people that are like really high up, PhDs, the whole 9 yards, very intelligent people. And it's hard to discredit that if there's all these intelligent people fighting.
It has nothing to do with but it doesn't have anything to do with intelligence.
I remember
what I'm saying is like it's hard.
He's saying that there's intelligent people that say this stuff is what he's saying. It's not just a bunch of rednecks.
Oh yeah, no, but I'm saying you have to separate from what you've been taught or what you know, because even to date, they're still discovering and rediscovering animals they thought to be extinct, and that's one of the biggest combats. But science is purposefully ignoring the data that has been given. We have vials upon vials of Bigfoot hair. That is not in any scientific data at all. Vials. We're talking like legitimate hair samples that have been seen at universities from here in England that have said, I don't know what animal this is. It is not in our data. We do not have it. But yet science still wants to turn the cheek. And we don't know why.
Oh, there's probably a reason.
What do you mean?
Of course there's a reason.
Are you saying that there's science that's ignored?
What is that noise with a bottle cap, or is it a ghost?
Government. What?
I keep hearing a bottle cap bouncing around. It's like overtaking.
Is there a bottle cap bouncing around here?
Does anybody else hear that, or is it just me?
I
hear the bottle cap.
You heard it too, okay, Jimmy. I was like,
I heard it. Yeah, it's been actually going on for a while, and
I was like, this isn't real, is it? There it is.
It's
There
right
it is
there. I
again.
just heard it again. Yep.
Is that you, Justin?
It's fucking Joe.
Oh,
No?
I think
No.
everybody hears it.
He's
It's
like,
weird. It
"Nope."
is like a flipping coin.
yep. People are hearing it too.
Yeah.
Sounds like poker
What the
chips.
fuck,
Which
dude?
one of you motherfuckers is doing this shit?
It's not me, man.
I'm holding my phone with the other hand.
I am too.
There it is
There
again.
it is.
That's really weird.
Come on now, who's fucking around?
I'm not. The lemurs are out, but no, but I got nothing here.
Weird.
I'm by myself. At least I think I am.
Supernatural.
I keep hearing it. I don't know.
Is it you, Troy?
I swear to God, it's not me. Not this time. I play around a lot, but I'm not doing it. I thought somebody was flipping a chip or something. I mean, I
It
can mute
sounded like
everybody
a
and see.
chip.
Let me mute some people here. Let me mute. No, I'm just kidding. I won't mute anybody. But if you mute people, you'll find out who it is.
Anyway, so yeah, that's it's a big problem.
Well, I think too with a lot of stuff, dude, especially after all the stuff that I've been listening to, which I should probably stop listening to because it makes me trust my government less and less and less. Not that I'm saying that you should, but at the same time, like a lot of shit gets thrown to the side, a lot of shit gets discounted, and then I'm not saying that it requires intelligence on a higher level to find certain things, but I am saying that it does help certain cases when you have. What the fuck is it?
Fudge.
I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
My whole
That
thing
sounded
is
like it was like
the,
flip cup.
Yeah.
Well, I'll leave
So-
you with this. I'll leave you with this, Justin. If you go on the conspiracy that government knows, there's a story that happened in Yellowstone that involved the Green Berets that showed up because this guy literally went missing, and they firmly believed that he was taken by the Sasquatch because 2 hikers prior said that they saw a giant, what looked like a giant beast covered in hair, and it had something over its shoulder that was screaming, and it was running into the woods. And so they started like this whole group search, and the Green Berets and a few other people from the government showed up, closed it all off, and said it is now a closed site, and they took over. They wouldn't even let the forest rangers in there. They wouldn't let the local sheriff department in there. And I talked to several of those people that were involved with that case, and they said, we don't know why, but it was completely taken over and shut down, and we weren't allowed to go in
Not
at
the
all. And they went in with
government.
huge guns.
the
Yeah,
government
so
And
it's
never
like-
does
nothing
that.
ever got talked about.
No,
Nothing ever
they
got
were
It
not-
talked about?
does, man.
Nope,
It
the
never
head
does.
department there within the sheriff's community, the main one there, that basically said that they were not allowed to speak of what happened. And it wasn't until 2 of the gentlemen came forward and said, this is exactly what happened. And these were the hikers that saw what happened.
Wow.
So it's really, there's a lot of things that we'll never truly understand, but I'm the first to tell you, and I don't really care who listens because I say it on my podcast with Don. I don't trust the government when it comes to this stuff because I've seen it with the UFO community.
That's just
So
That
Fuck
was
the
me.
government.
that was a lean.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. Well, the government
Yeah.
hides fucking whatever it wants to hide because it's the government, and if they don't want you to know, they don't want you to know, and then they'll do some side stories and all that shit. Look how long it took for MK Ultra to come out, for all that shit to fucking come out. That's not me. So look how long it took for all that stuff to come out, and then only after like people like it takes literally a fucking century before new information comes out, because once those people are long since been dead, then they'll start leaking some information here and there and be like, yeah, that was us.
or it's just the opposite. You'll get somebody that comes out and leaks, and guess what? They have an accidental suicide. So it's you just never know how it's going to be.
Yeah.
I mean, unfortunately, it's a really tricky world to work in and live in, and it's the world that I do live in. And I mean, my partner, he was in Roswell. He had his hotel broken into. They ended up taking his phone. They were trying to take his bag. They basically like the government official had been tracking him down because he knows people within the Pentagon that was leaked information, and he basically had his room raided, had his briefcase annihilated. They stole his phone because they were dumb and they didn't think he'd have his laptop with him. And he always carries 2 phones. He has a flip phone and a smartphone, and keeps his smartphone with him. And his flip phone is kind of like just a call to phone because he knows how the government works. It's not the first time he's been tapped. And basically I had heard from him like 3 days, started to panic because I knew he was doing basically work in Roswell at the time. And he calls me from like somebody else's line. And he's like, I'm just letting you know I was tapped. And then when he got home and all of this started to unravel, he had a message from his friend in the Pentagon that basically said, you know, you need to be cautious. They're keeping a close eye on you. And this all happened prior to that. And then he was also home and he looked at his mouthwash and his mouthwash was black. So they had put something in it to either drug him or knock him out. And it shouldn't have been black. So, you know, these are things that he's dealt with before. So it's really crazy.
Bye, Justin.
I don't know what happened there. He got dropped off there. He disappeared. Anyways, we're at the end of the show anyhow. I mean, we're 20 minutes over, pretty much.
It's always on this topic. We always get.
I know, but we had a good time with
it. Over. Yeah.
No, it was a great time. We appreciate everybody coming out. It was a lot of fun again, talking about ghosts, Bigfoots, weirdos, whatever else you want to talk about on the show. We had a good time. Yeah, absolutely. Fun stuff. We had everybody get together. It's good to see you back, Jimmy. Thanks for coming in again, Joe.
Thanks for having me.
You know, we appreciate everybody coming out. So we're going to go ahead and end the night on this. We're at 1 hour and 20 minutes in. Hope you all enjoyed it. Once again, you can see it on YouTube. It'll be up on YouTube. So if you missed anything and you want to go back and check it out, it's the Motley Croc Show on YouTube. So thanks for coming out, guys. We appreciate everybody. And we will talk to you all later.